Time to get down and get funky with Lettuce. Based in Denver, Colorado, this is a band that knows how to create their own Rocky Mountain High. And here's guitarist Adam Smirnoff with the story behind the new album Unify, a record that features Bootsy Collins and completes a trilogy that began in 2019. So my understanding is the new record Unify is kind of part of a trilogy that started in 2019 with Elevate and then Resonate. Was that the plan at the time?
Yeah, that sounds about right. We recorded them all in the same studio here in Denver at
Right.
Colorado Sounds.
Right.
I feel like the first album led into the next album as far as we recorded so much material that we had all this other stuff to put out that led to the next record.
Yep.
Same thing happened on that record that led to this record. So I feel like art-wise, it's all the same artist, and for the covers and artwork on the album, that's what I mean. And
Yep.
and so yeah, I feel like they are kind of all tied together, and we'll probably look back at some point in the future as being this particular era of Lettuce.
Right. So you're obviously not at a loss for material. This record's like 70 minutes long. You guys must be writing all the time.
Well, I feel like we just have so many prolific writers and producers in this band. Everyone in their own right is just absolutely incredible, and you certainly have Adam Deitch leading the way as far as like one of the most prolific musicians that I've ever met, who's consistently writing and always producing,
Right.
and very influential to the rest of us to, put our best foot forward.
Gotcha. So you have the two Adams happening, you and the other Adam. So what's the
Sure
What's
do.
the musical relationship like with you guys? I mean, you've been doing this for quite a while now.
I mean, I think our musical relationship is tied into our friendship, which has been 30 years now.
Right.
Both our musical and friendship relationship has been 30 years. And so I feel like, we've just grown more comfortable with our process of how to work together. And this includes like everyone in this band. I feel like we understand each other's strengths and weaknesses and try and, bring the best out of each other, both as people and musicians.
So you guys kind of
Writers,
self-produced the record.
producers.
How do you guys work together? Who takes on what roles when you're in the studio making this thing?
I think it changes depending on whose song it is, who brought it to the table, how, I just feel like it's kind of a misnomer that this is the Lettuce produced album. Every album that we have ever put out has been a Lettuce produced record.
Okay.
And I just feel like we've just more ironed out the process through the years of like knowing when to step forward, knowing when to step backward, knowing when to put your opinion out there and say like, hey, I think it would sound better like this, and come to more of an agreement as a group, as a band, of what we're all looking for, and understand that that's what kind of makes it Lettuce.
Gotcha. Now, in addition to Lettuce, you got Bootsy on the record as well. So,
Yeah, we do.
on Keep That Funk Alive, how'd you rope him into playing with you?
This was during a real era of we're all sending around tunes to each other, and Adam started a song that he actually sampled Bootsy off of Instagram, saying "Keep that funk alive," and then layered his own vocals on it, came up with a groove, sent it. I believe I was the second person to record on it. He left it without a B section, and I did the bass and the guitar of the B section, what became like the do 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 do, that second section in the groove. And then I believe the horns got it, and they put down some of the horn lines that Adam had in the first groove, and then wrote stuff to the second part. Next thing you know, we come up with kind of, a Lettuce demo that gets sent to Bootsy, who then ends up writing to that, and puts down multiple verses and his space bass parts. And actually, that got sent back to me, and I ended up editing that for a month straight, where we actually kind of like got it down to more of like a length of a song that felt like, right to us, and had the verses and the choruses kind of placed where we wanted to have it.
Right.
And then next thing you know, when we all got together for the studio session, we bring those files to the studio and maybe re-record some of the horns. All of those guitar parts that were on there were the stuff that was like recorded at my house. And everyone puts their own little flavor on it, and then it becomes, what it is on the album.
Right. And did you know Bootsy before this? Had you worked with him before? Have you met him? No.
Met him briefly on Jam Cruise, and at one of the festivals, at Bear Creek Festival, I believe it was, through Paul Levine. But like, no, we weren't like homies or anything like that. And now it kind of feels like we are, which is just incredible to me. He's obviously all of this band's like biggest hero. He's one of our biggest heroes ever. He's one of the architects of funk music, who has been able to be relevant through, what are we talking about, since the early 70s?
Yep.
Now,
I think that's when he joined the JVs, like 70 or 71.
Yeah. Love, Power, Peace, and the Soul Power album, I believe. Yep.
Something like that. Yep. Now I'm going to show off a little bit. I did a record with Bootsy called the Fabulous King All Stars. There's Bootsy there.
Get out of town.
With all of with Bobby Bird and Hank Ballard and Fred Wesley and Pee Wee Ellis and all those guys. So.
And is that Catfish that I saw on that record too? Catfish Collins,
Clyde Stubblefield. But it was done in '88.
Wow.
So, very small label. But
that's
fun.
Incredible. Where can I hear that?
Good question. I'm not sure if it's on the Spotify. I'm going to try and get it up there, because those things didn't exist back then, so we got to figure it out. But I think some of it's on YouTube.
To listen to that. And what did you do on that record?
I put them all in a room together and recorded it all in one day. I was the record label.
Really cool. Well, I definitely need to hear that. That's a must hear for me, please.
Yep, definitely. So now back to your record, though. I don't want to digress too far. So for you, the record is a pretty big work. How do you look at it in terms of it? Is there an ebb and a flow to it? Is it just a series of tracks? How do you look at the thing that comprises Unify at this point?
No, there's definitely an ebb and a flow to it. We thought really hard about that, to be honest, and worked on the order really hard, and put in the interludes to connect certain pieces of the record, as far as being in an age where everyone's attention span through the internet has just shortened, and people listen to like half a song and flip to the next one and flip to the next one, and then they're done with it and they didn't even get through it. I really feel
Yep.
like this to us, like some of our classic favorite records of all time is like, an album that you're supposed to listen to from beginning to end. And,
Yeah.
we make a lot of this stuff for ourselves and what our tastes are. And, for some of those classic older records, you'd get to somewhere and you'd be like, well, this isn't the funk right here. I'm going to skip this tune. And for us, that like we wanted to make a record that you there's no skippers. No skips. You don't skip it, you listen to the whole thing. And you know, that's one of the reasons why we put it out on vinyl, and we're still doing that stuff. I actually just got this package today and I'm very happy with the way it looks.
It's going to
Look,
sound great on vinyl, I imagine.
it's very reflective. I can see myself in the album. Hello. Yes.
Excellent. So do you have a highlight of the record for yourself? Because it is a significant piece of work there. So are there things that stand
I
out for you
think Keep
personally?
That Funk Alive is the highlight to me. Getting to work with, the legend Bootsy Collins. Aside from that, I mean, I feel like personally some of my best guitar work, and I feel like I took some memorable singable solos that remain in my head, that when we get to the live shows, I kind of want to play those solos or touch on them, or
Right.
play most of it and then expand from there. And, I just feel like a lot of the grooves on this record between like, Deitch, Jesus, and I, bass, drums, and guitar are extremely locked. And
Right.
I feel like the sounds that Nigel ended up putting as a keyboard player were just so perfect. And the horn arrangements of Bloom and Zoidus just get tighter and tighter as a section, and their ideas are just, so syncopated. And I feel like this is some of Nigel's best work singing.
Right.
I'm just, I'm proud of this, and I feel like I'm gonna look back and, be proud of this one for a long time.
Cool. So Nigel is
The whole
Nigel
thing.
Hall, and Eric is Eric Bloom,
Nigel
not the Eric
Hall.
Bloom from Blue Oyster Cult.
Eric Bloom on trumpet,
Yeah.
Nigel Hall on vocals and keys, Ryan Zoidus on saxophone and X911, which is actually an old guitar synthesizer that he has hooked up to his saxophone, and it gets some of these sounds you might not know what it is on the
Right.
album, but it's him.
Okay.
With that stuff. It almost sounds like an analog keyboard
Right.
at times. You have Adam Deitch on the drums and Eric Jesus Coombs on bass, and myself, Adam Smirnoff on guitar.
Yeah. So what holds you together? Is it the music? Is it the personal interaction between you guys? All of the above?
I think
What
both.
is it?
All of the above. And
Yeah.
I think us growing as musicians and us growing as people is what's going to keep us together.
Yeah. So how do you see the band's sound has evolved over the years? Is there a big difference between what we hear now and what you were thinking of when you started the group?
I just think it's all just more polished at this point. And I don't mean that in like our music's lost some sort of like roughness to it. I don't mean it like
Right.
that. Yeah, I think that we are still able to keep that original raw dogness of Lettuce's like funk. And I kind of feel like since the Rage album, we have kind of progressed into showing what makes us different from a lot of the classic funk groups with our hip hop influence and how we grew up listening to samples. And, a lot of our discovery for funk music was through, hip hop that you'd be hearing on the radio. Growing up in New York, for me, like, you'd hear these
Yeah.
songs and you'd kind of go like, oh wait, I heard that before? I feel like let me find out what this comes from. And it's a lot easier to do nowadays with like websites like Who Sampled and being able to Google
Right.
what a sample was from versus like I'm going to a record store and I'm buying these classics and I just got to this. And this is this hit song on the radio right now. I found it. I discovered it. I rediscovered it. That kind of feeling that,
Right.
Was kind of the process when I was younger.
Gotcha. Yeah. So you got a Sonic Bloom festival you're playing in a couple of days?
On Friday, I believe. Yep. Here
Ah.
in Colorado. Yep. And then we fly
So
to
one doesn't
Tennessee
think of
for
Colorado as the funkiest place on the planet, but apparently it must be.
Denver has become a hub for a lot of musicians. The music scene here is absolutely incredible. You have a lot of people who tour out of here, who live here, who are professionals, and a lot of other bands. You have a great audience here who loves music and
Right.
comes out. And, I feel like I've lived in New York and I've lived in Boston and I love all those places. And, this is another budding great music scene, which is just only growing now at this point and getting more and more active.
Very cool. Hey, you ever been down to this part of the world?
I have never been to New Zealand. I'd love to go though. My wife has been there.
All right.
Spent a lot of time there at some point. Always does a great New Zealand accent. Makes me laugh, and I'd really love to go there at some point.
It is a unique thing, that's for sure. Yeah. But thank you very much for talking to me. I appreciate it. And the record,
Thanks,
I'm
Marty.
loving the
I
record.
appreciate it too.
Yeah. All righty. Have a good day.
All right, peace, brother.